about we come back to 1966? And welcome to Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix at Mosport, but it's not quite the Canadian Grand Prix as you might expect it. This is round number 3 of the 1966 Can-Am Series for Group 7 Monsters. Once again, north of the border and at one of North American racing's all-time classics. This is part 33 of my 1966 series where I take on the role of our 60s racing hero Richie and duke it out across all forms of motorsport in pursuit of fame and glory. Now, it's been just a short week's trip for our racing circus as it headed back north from the last time out in New Jersey at Bridgehampton. It's a race which could have been victory for old Richie, but some late race mistakes in the pursuit of Chris Amon in the McLaren led to losing a couple positions and finishing on the last step of the podium. But that was then, so Ontario's Mosport brings a new vigor to the series as it reaches its midpoint in the inaugural season. But 1966 was the 6th running of the Canadian Grand Prix at Mosport, an event coveted as the premier sports car event in Canada. But 66 would be a year of many transitions as the Canadian Grand Prix had now been promoted to the exciting new Can-Am Series and would soon be destined for that F1 glory. Once again, a massive entry list saw 49 cars arrive and attempt to make the 30-car starting grid. Amongst them, Bruce and Chris were back in their scarlet McLarens, searching for that elusive victory which had slipped away despite obvious performance in the first 2 rounds. And Chaparral were back with their winged oddities, hopefully a bit more secure after their inaugural run at the beach, with Phil Hill and Jim Hall both set to take the start. And notably on the grid was F1 Brabham star Denny Hulme driving a Lola for Sid Taylor. But in qualifying, it was Dan Gurney for his All-American Racers that took pole on a rainy Friday session over Chris Amon and Bruce McLaren. But it wasn't without controversy. A bit of non-standard rules meant that cars that set a time in that Friday session would always start ahead of any car that set times in other sessions. So although many were faster on Saturday, they had to start in the mid or the back of the pack, which led to a very jumbled starting grid. So at the start of the race, series standout thus far, John Surtees was victim of this starting kerfuffle when he was involved in a multi-car pileup, preventing any sort of Canadian sweep on his season. But the race did get going. Gurney led away, but down on horsepower due to an engine change, he was quickly overtaken by the McLarens and Denny Hulme. It was an all-New Zealand breakaway with Bruce, Chris, and Denny in the top 3 spots. But sadly, it wasn't meant to be the Island Nation's day as transmission issues sidelined Hulme before halfway, not followed long after by Bruce McLaren running into a slow backmarker GT40. It was then Chris Amon that looked set for certain victory until a local yellow stacked up the field and Chris, unable to react in time, ran into the back of Phil Hill's Chaparral. So with Gurney resuming the lead, it seemed a foregone conclusion until with just 10 laps to go, battery failure ended the hopes of a back-to-back victory. And wouldn't you know it, this promoted unsuspecting Mark Donohue aboard his Penske Lola to the lead, just 2 laps ahead of Phil Hill's Chaparral to take an unlikely but well-earned victory. And so we're here in Grand Prix Legends to recreate this chaotic race as the 3rd round in the 1966 Can-Am season. Our driver Richie is back driving the 2nd Lola Ford for Dan Gurney's All-American Racers team. And fingers are crossed this machine holds together a bit better than it did in real life. And if we take a look at the points, after just 2 rounds, it's a tight battle up front. Chris Amon leads the way with the McLaren after getting the win last time out at Bridgehampton. He combines that with his 4th place finish in round number 1 for 12 total points, while Richie Axelson, myself, and Bruce McLaren are tied for 2nd, 10 points apiece. After a 2nd place in round number 1 and a 3rd place in round number 2, I think it's about fitting that we try to get that top step. John Surtees is not too far behind, and these 4 cars seems like are the early breakaways in the season. Without any drop races, it'll be important to score in each round. And I think this race will be very telling for how the rest of the season's going to go. In this race, the Canadian Grand Prix is taking place at the classic location for the Canadian Grand Prix, even pre-Formula 1 days, Mosport Park. This is one of those rare circuits that really has not changed at all over the years. It's just 10 turns, 2.4 miles, a rather short course, but very narrow, especially in these days, and a fast and flowing layout. The layout itself is really identical to these days, coming over some sweeping hills that have off-camber, very tricky downhill bends, but with a couple good overtaking zones and the ultra tricky and tight Moss Corner at the top of the hill. This leads you onto a long backstretch, which has quite a rise towards the end of it where the cars can actually get off the ground a little bit before you have to settle them back down and through the S's and White's Corner to end the lap. It's a circuit that demands all your attention if you're going to stay on the road the whole time, and a bit of cooperation if you want to try to pass somebody. And unfortunately, passing is going to be what's necessary in this one as we take a look at the results from qualifying. It is Dan Gurney matching the real-life performance and getting on the pole alongside Bruce McLaren, and real-life race winner Mark Donohue starts alongside in the third position. But if we look back to the second row, there's no Richie Axelson to be found. We got Sam Posey and Denny Hulme making his first start in Can-Am alongside. And even in row 3 with Chris Amon, Motsenbacher, and Cannon, we have to go all the way back through row 4 with the two chaparrals, and then finally row number 5 alongside John Surtees, so in good company, but qualifying only a meager 12th, sandwiched in the middle with Chuck Parsons on the left in his McLaren. So it's going to be a busy time trying to work my way up the grid. Only the top 6 pays points. So quickly working through the traffic and trying to make something out of this will be the big goal. But luckily we'll have a little bit of time to do it. This race in real life was 85 laps around the Mosport circuit, and so keeping with the theme of this entire series, it's a 1/3 distance race. So 26 laps, which is a pretty good length, but 26 laps to try to get it done, get up the grid, and get towards the front to score some points. So this is one I know a lot of folks have been waiting far too long for, and I'm excited to give it a go. So let's get started with the 1966 Canadian Grand Prix. Alright, so here we are on the grid, and it's a narrow one, and I've got these two big monstrosities in front of me. See what I can do here, take it nice and easy off the line. Flag is up. Down, we're underway, long wait there. Oh, as I try to get away without over revving. There we go. But boxed in a bit, the two chaparrals, Jim Hall on the right, I think. So we'll come down to turn number 1, slide a bit wide. I got John Surtees on the right. Chuck Parsons falls in behind, I believe. All right, head on now to turn number 2. The track falls away to the left here. Got Chris Amon, I think, running a bit wide. Whoa, jumps over the curbing. Able to hold on to it. He didn't spin out. He's behind me now. We'll get around Chris as well in the factory McLaren. All right, so get on the gas here and head towards turn 4. Repeat, really, of turn number 2. It falls away to the left. Just take it nice and easy. This one funnels down to Moss Corner, which really is going to be single file here, I'd imagine. All right, Amon behind me. Probably not happy with that start. Get it up the gears then. Onto the backstretch. This is where we want all the power. It's the two chaparral in front. Should have a disadvantage, I'd imagine, with their wings, but they're doing quite well here as we'll head towards the end of the straight and this nasty hill. So we'll get it down a gear as the car wants to jump sideways there into the S's. This group in front stacks up a little bit. We'll come to the final few corners. Down to second gear. See if we can run her around the outside. Becomes the inside into White's Corner. Up the inside of Jim Hall. There we go. Complete lap number 1. He falls in behind. All right, a couple good passes there. We'll just stick with it. Nice and easy here. It's Phil Hill then, right on the back of Cannon in that green mint McLaren here. We got 2 other McLarens right in front of him, I think. Customer cars anyway. Well, as Cannon runs, we were wide then. Gets shoved out there by Phil Hill. We'll try to get him on the exit maybe. Oh, he slides in front of me into Quebec Corner, man. Just held it there as we got on the brakes, but he runs a bit wide. I'll jump up the inside on the exit. There we go. Over, under. Flirting with disaster here. Let's come over the top of turn number 4 then. All right, settle in for a second. Down to first gear, into Moss Corner. It's always feels like you're going just a little too slow through here, but there's really nowhere to go as Amon behind's trying to get over Cannon too. On the backstretch, these 2 white McLarens in front. I'm not sure who it is. It's Phil Hill looks to the outside. Maybe it's Motsenbacher, this one, the purple one on the right. A little bit of space behind me to get out of it as these three try to run each other off the road, it seems. Maybe we can make that same move again, down to second gear. Well, no, Phil Hill runs wide. They both run a bit wide. Sneak up the inside, becomes the outside of Phil. Pinch him down a little bit, try to carry that speed through. Motsenbacher then on the right. So head down to turn number 1, back down to second gear. All right. And he's stuck up behind. It's Sam Posey, the racing poet. Whoa, Sam, come on. Cuts in front. He's quite slow. All right, step on it. There we go. Sam Posey slides in behind. We're free. And now chasing Motsenbacher. Man, quite a few moves there. I don't know what position I'm up to. We'll try to take a look at the pit board this time by. Phil Hill able to get around Posey as well. You can see the black wing chaparral right in my mirror now. So we'll understeer a little bit up the hill. Just make sure he doesn't try to jump up the inside into Moss's corner. All right, accelerate down the backstretch, pulling in on Lothar. It's going to be tough to pass here. Car dances all over the road. You'd imagine there'd be a lot of buffeting as well. So we come up to the hill here. This is exactly where you'd want to brake, and you just can't. Maybe Phil Hill can with that downforce behind. Down to second gear then. Lothar slides to the inside. Come on. There we go. Just toe the line through the final corner. Perfect. Up the inside. Gets me up the spot. I have no idea what position we're fighting for, but just going forward, that's all we need to do. There we go. Nicely done. I'm going to try to put a little bit of a gap on myself on Lothar before Phil Hill gets around him. I think it's only a matter of time. And Phil seems mighty quick. Finally a little breathing room. It's a hectic start. I have to imagine that's a lot how the real start was for this, because they did qualify cars quite weirdly, where cars that qualified on Friday started ahead of cars that qualified on Saturday, regardless of their speed, their outright pace. It's kind of like Indianapolis 500 style in the old days, where if you got in on the first day, you started in front of the cars that got in on the later days. And yeah, I don't think that works too well, especially when the course is very narrow and technical like this one. It's just not a lot of great passing opportunities, and that led to that lap 1 crash with John Surtees that took him out of the race, and luckily he didn't get hurt from it. But there were quite a few accidents in this one in real life, and I think you can see why. It's just a really challenging track with these cars. Wonderful circuit though. Alright, we'll come through the final corner. Let's take a look at the pit board. I got Denny Holm in front of me. Oh, it's a P5, 22 laps to go. This is looking great. An amazing start. I did not think would get up that high. I gotta make sure I don't throw it away though. Just a few laps and able to pass a whole bunch of cars there through the slower traffic. Now got Phil Hill behind, chasing Denny Holm in his first Can-Am start. I guess he would be in town for the US Grand Prix coming up quite soon. So we can see if we can relive a little bit of our Italian Grand Prix battle. Just see him disappearing over the rise. I don't know if I'm quicker than him, but we'll try to monitor the gap. You can just see him through the trees there. He's driving a silver car. Silver Lola. Should have similar chassis. I'm not sure what engine he's using. We've got the Ford Power. It was said, though, that Gurney had some issues with his main engine, his high-powered engine that he used in qualifying, so they had to either detune it or put in a replacement. We've got a white flag showing up. It means maybe slow car ahead. We'll take it a little extra easy over the rise here. Yeah, white flag. Oh, yeah, it is a slow car on the inside there. It's looking like John Surtees. John Surtees, quite slow, 4th place in the championship. So some sort of mechanical issue. At least we won't have to worry about Surtees coming up behind me today. But yeah, Gurney had to run some sort of detuned engine, so you'd imagine he wouldn't give me something better than he has. So we might be a little bit down on power. We'll see what we can do with it. I think most of the other cars ran Chevy or Oldsmobile engines. but high-powered engines was really what it was about in Can-Am. And it's what makes the series so interesting. Almost every single car is a different engine, chassis combo. Even within a team, the chassis will be slightly different. It's a full development series, very much like a Formula One, but even crazier than that. You can see Phil Hill behind me. So there's Phil Hill behind me. There's a red car there, but that wouldn't be Surtees. Obviously, I'm not sure who that is. Must be Chris Amon. His bad start up front here. He'll want revenge on that. A lot of understeer through the S's. Keep it in third gear there. Shift it down to second halfway through. A little bit of rotation there into White's corner. P5, yep, 20 laps to go. It's home, 5 seconds up the road. We'll look at that again in a couple laps if it doesn't feel like we're making progress, just to check on ourselves. But we're close enough now that I think we'll see if I start getting closer. Second gear here for security, maybe. Just need that engine braking sometimes to help coax the car down a bit. Really kick sideways there on the exit. The tires are really starting to heat up now. Find it gets much harder to drive as the race goes. Even though the fuel's coming off, the tires are just sliding so much around here. You're putting a lot of lateral load on the tires, and they just start giving up at a certain point. We'll try to be nice to them. We'll save a little bit of grip for when we're battling. A little bit wide there through Moss's corner. Come on. Man, that didn't take long. Phil Hill right behind me then. One little mistake, and he's there. It's, I guess, what happens when you're driving with world champions. Right up to the edge. A better line on entry there. To really float it in, though. I imagine that Chaparral drives completely differently through there. Yeah, we're going to get up to Denny Holm here, but we got Phil Hill right on my tail now. I don't want to lose this 5th position. We got 2 points as it is. It's only the top 6 that get points. It's the old style system. And I would surely would like the 4th place points, at least. I'm not seeing any signs of cars further up ahead from Denny. So the top 3 must have really taken off here. Just bouncing off the curbs. You really don't want to touch the curbs around here. They're very much the style of keep you in the track type curbs, defining the edge of the circuit. Not really something you use while driving. But between the white lines, this track is almost identical. It's remained basically this throughout all the years. It's quite remarkable. Rare in the motorsports world. Sliding a bit wide there. Phil Hill is all over me now. I'm catching up to Holm here, but Phil is not going to leave me alone. Come on. Exit the corner. Using a lot of the engine here. We're going to cross our fingers and hope things hold together. Chuck it in sideways into turn 2. I think I'm pretty good through the exit of turn 2 is where I'm making up a lot of my time. Alright, really close now to Denny Holm. I'm going to have to make quick work of this and then hope Phil Hill gets stuck with him for a while. But where to pass? It's easier to pass the slow cars. Passing a fast car is something else. We'll see what he's like on the straight. Maybe he's down on power. Accelerating away. He's holding quite well. A little bit of skid marks on the curbs and stuff there. All right. Floated through. Got a bit of air that time. It's really easy to launch the car over the top of the hill there, but you're most likely not going to slow it down in time if you do that. All right, really closing up on him through the slow stuff. So it seems I got better cornering grip than Holm. Maybe not straight line speed though. around that mirror fill hill. Looking for a way around as well, but as long as I position my car well, it's going to be hard to pass, and I'm sure home will know the same. Oh, a nice run here coming towards turn number 4. It's really not going to be a spot to do it though. Just try to stick close to him. Maybe we can get a run down the backstretch. Catch a little bit of oversteer there through the 2 moss corners. Nicely done through there. Use a little bit of extra revs here. Try to stick nice and close. Get up to 4th gear. He's just a bit faster, and we're just going to start catching him as we get to the hill here at the end of the straight, but I'll try to stick close. A little bit shallow on the entry to the S's, just the way the car wanted to go. Down to 2nd gear, maybe carry a bit of speed, loop around the outside. Outside becomes the inside. There we go. Oh, side by side here, onto the front stretch. Drag race, down towards turn number 1. Down to 2nd gear, slide it on in, he backs out. All right, let's try to run away. He ran real wide there, but it looks like maybe Eamon got around hill behind, so let's hope the 3 of them battle a bit and I can sneak away. Well, let's keep the car on the road now. Used a lot of tire there to calm things back down a bit. Once you get the tires cooled, they'll behave again, so it's possible to get the car back under control. But yeah, pulling away nicely now. Home slowing up quite a lot, maybe has issues. We'll set our sights forward and just forget about those 3, hopefully. Try to make sure the car lands on all 4s is the most important thing. If you land a little sideways, it's harder to brake. We'll come through, look at the pit board this time. All right, we're 20 seconds off Donahue, but in P4, 15 laps to go. Just a couple laps short of halfway. It's been an eventful first half of the race. Might be a quiet second half of the race, but I have a feeling I'm going to be looking at the mirror here pretty soon. If Eamon or Hill is able to get around home. And we might get some lap traffic towards the end of this one. We'll check in on Donahue shortly, but 20 seconds is an awful long way. With starting so far back on the grid, you'd have to expect the leaders are going to be really hard to catch. Being caught in traffic for so long, it took me almost 10 laps to get through a lot of the lap traffic there. Down to 1st gear here, a little bit messy. Never feels good going through Moss Corner. I do like driving this car. These cars feel great. They've got a great, the amount of power they have is just, that's what you need to be able to harness. The power to weight is unbelievable. Down to 2nd, flirting with the curbs there. There's no curb on this corner. You can use a little bit of it. All right, no sign of anybody behind. So we're in a bit of a hole now. We'll just enjoy lapping the Lola Ford. A lot of hard work there getting up through the grid. Especially on starts like that. I think they actually did 2 starts in the real race. After the Surtees accident on the first start, they actually stopped the race and restarted it. So you have to imagine all the drivers being quite nervous then. It's a weird downshift there. Come on. Trying to run wide. Really could throw it away. I've thrown away the last 2 Can-Am races. Maybe could have been able to win both of them just due to driving errors while pushing, trying to pass. So I need to just concentrate on getting this race done cleanly. And if I can catch anybody else, that would just be a bonus. final corner. I'll take another peek at that pit board. 21 seconds, losing a second to Donahue, but we're halfway through the race now. So, despite relatively clean laps, Donahue's able to pull away. They're on something else up there in this one. There's a great video of Bruce McLaren talking about this track in 1966. I think it was for a different race than this one. There were quite a lot of sports car races that featured Group 7 cars, the same kind of cars that raced in Can-Am, but they weren't part of the Can-Am Championship. And I think for one of the other races up here, there is some coverage of it. And Bruce does a kind of a lap tour of the circuit and talks about the final corner specifically and how it's great to watch the cars sliding through it. They get a lot of understeer on entry and then oversteer on exit and power slide through, and it's very exciting. And the way he talks about it makes you recognize that these guys in this era were just race fans as well. They just happen to be the ones doing it. All right, down to third gear here, jump over the hill. That was much nicer feeling into the corner. Might have been a bit slower though. Snap a oversteer on the exit, down into second, bounce off the curbing a little bit, and into that final corner. Yeah, we'll get a little bit of that oversteer on the exit. It is quite exciting. Just being extra cautious to the corner entries though, because it's so easy to overdo it. All right, nicely through the bottom of turn 2, down a second for Quebec corner. I don't know when or if we'll catch some lapped cars, but that could change the race a bit, depending on how quickly the cars in front can get around them. But you'd imagine lap traffic will hop out of the way pretty quickly. Right, down to first gear for Moss. I don't see any cars behind me now, so I might have pulled out a bit. We just can see, I think, Eamon there as I'm pulling away on the straight, but I've got a good gap behind, so that's not a concern. See, this track as well has its own caution light system, which is quite interesting, especially in this time period. Very high tech, as we'll say. And the ambulance, of course, parked right on the side of the track, just in case you need it. All right. I can see Eamon back there, but he's not catching me that quick. Although there's still a good number of laps to go, I certainly can't ignore him completely. Eamon did start up front. He had that weird issue on the first lap where he lost a bunch of positions coming out of turn 2, and actually is quite a bit closer this lap. I'm trying to kid myself here and saying that he's not an issue, but he's catching me. You can just see that little red dot in my tiny mirror. It's one of the challenges of these cars, is just your rear visibility. All right, jump it over the hill there. Slid a bit wide. Come on. Down into second for the final couple of corners here. Look at that pit board again. All right, Donahue's 24 seconds up the road, 10 laps to go. It's a kick of oversteer, and I can see how close Eamon is now. So this is going to be all about trying to save this 4th place without throwing the race away. It's always easier to be looking in front of you and trying to make passes and make positions, but trying to defend is quite tough, especially with cars like these. So slide a little bit into the corner. There we go. Try to get that late apex. As long as I position my car well and don't run wide in any corners, I should be able to hold on to it. It looks like he actually lost quite a bit of time through there. I don't know if that's just kind of the ebb and flow of it, but we'll see here in a second. he's still about there. So it does ebb and flow as the speeds pick up. The gap rises. Still clear track in front. So come up to the hill here. Not so good that time through the S's. Bit of understeer and then straight oversteer. All right, come across the line. Should be 9 to go this time. I'm gonna count down these laps, trying to hold off Chris Amon behind. Have to imagine Gurney's up front, maybe leading. It's not Donahue. And I guess Bruce McLaren's the other one we haven't seen, so it's definitely Gurney, Bruce McLaren, and Donahue up front. And I think Donahue's in third as we'll slide real wide. Whoa, big slide there into Quebec corner. Just catching it. Come on. Amon a little far back. He's not as quick through there as me. But that's where I need to be quick if I'm going to stay in front. All right, down to first gear. He's right on me now. Hope he doesn't have the speed to catch me down the straight here, because breaking into the S's is not the easiest spot for me. He's gaining though. Keep it a little bit to the inside. Oh, the car gets so sideways there. Slides wide. Man, just catching it right in front of Amon. Gets the heart racing. I don't know how I held on to that. Come on. Don't need to be making mistakes like that. That was so close. Well, Amon's right on me now. He's got the bit between his teeth, and I think he'll be looking for a way to redeem that start and at least pick up a couple more points here. We're racing him for the championship, so I need to keep him behind me. Even though we're only fighting for fourth, it's still going to matter in the end. Wheel spin over the top of the hill as the car gets light. Get it down a couple of gears as it loads up at the bottom of the hill. Kick of dust there as I'm trying to roll the car through Moss Corner while also blocking that inside line so he doesn't think he can jump up there. Really revving the car out now. So here comes Amon. Over the top of the hill. Once again, a big tank slapper as I'm trying to get it slowed down. If I'm not careful, I'm going to throw the whole race away there. Oh, and there's a couple cars. I don't know if that's Donahue or not. Donahue's 21 seconds up. We've held station with him, actually, but yeah, that's not Donahue ahead of me now. So there's a couple lapped cars we're catching. That's going to make things interesting here. A little bit fast into turn 2. Shift it down to second to use the engine braking. Tires are very hot now. Just feel there's no grip. Amon's plotting where he can get around. He must see how much I'm struggling at the end of the main straight. Better through there, just clipping the inside curb, but that actually got me a good exit. All right, 2 cars here. Hopefully we'll get out of the way for me and not for Amon. Amon really lunges up there into the corner. He must have just a little bit better downforce with that front splitter that they've got on the McLaren. That's what I'm going with. So come to the final corner. Not sure who this is in front, but ideally they would not be trying to fight each other for last place either. And I think it's Sam Posey again in the white car at least. All right, we'll get a little bit of run on this one back marker. Slide up the inside. And he jumps to the inside line. I think maybe blocking slightly. Eamon behind will get up the inside of Posey. Finally makes it a little easier to get around, putting a whole lap on Sam Posey during this one. All right, that actually did me real good. Eamon still stuck up behind there. We'll try to use this little breath to just get the car to cool down. Don't slide the tires as much. Maybe have at least one calm run through the S's. Come on now. He's really not too far back there. I see a winged car back there too. I think Phil Hill is quite close. So it's the back runners in the points. I think 4th, 5th, and 6th here on a line. So we're getting towards the pointy end of this one. All right, a little calmer that time though. I just need to break that a little bit earlier, but when they're right on you, be liable to get past there. All right, 5 laps to go, just 5 laps to go. That's all I need to hold them off for. Donahue's still way up the road, so it's all about this. Quite slow over the rise of 2. Come on now. Just getting very tense and trying to keep the car nice and steady, but it's making me drive worse. You need to be loose. You need to be capable of catching slides, thinking ahead. Right, down a couple of gears. You can hear the engine roaring behind me as we hop the curb quite a lot there. That was almost suspension damage worthy. I think we're all right though. Come on. He's right on me now though. He's able to get through Moss's corner quite well. So here we come to the end of the straight. Just gonna have a bit of a run up the outside, I think. Not able to make it done. He's just watching this Lola slide all over the course. Be quite tentative in passing this car too. All right, 4 more laps to go. Run out right to the curb. Come on. Getting distracted with the rear view mirror. Just the flashes of red in the mirror. Definitely works as an intimidation factor. Down a couple of gears. Aiming right behind. Keep it parked kind of in the middle of the road. A little bit of wheel spin. Tires are very slick now. All right, here he comes. Try to keep it a little more to the left of the road this time. I just need that extra braking. All right, that actually held him off pretty well. I think as long as I don't open up the outside lane, he's really not going to have anywhere to go. He can't send it up the inside there, I don't think. Missed the second gear downshift through the S's into White's corner. All right, get it to the line. Should be 3 laps to go now. Just don't miss braking zones. Hopefully we don't get any more lap traffic. Just keep it nice and steady. Doing what I need to do. Try to not run wide this time through here. There are more lapped cars ahead, of course, just as I wish them away. All right, a little bit of a gap there. It's just always through Quebec corner. It always looks better than it is. Then he closes right up again through here. Just can't carry much more speed up the hill than that. Oh, once again, jumping that curb. Come on. Luckily not to spin the car out doing that. All right. Here comes Eamon. So come up to the end of the straight. Down a gear. Oh, he slides up the inside. He does it. He does do it. Come on now. down to second gear. We go back on him, around the outside, into the grass a little bit. No, he's going to cover me off there. I tried him on it. Dang. All right, 2 laps to go, I think. Just stay on him. We got to get around this lap traffic. You never know if that'll present an opportunity. But he definitely took the lunge there. That's my weak spot. Just not able to block, really. Not able to get through there in good speed. The Lola. We got Phil Hill to worry about now. I did not want to be demoted to 6th. Slide it in real hard to turn 4 then. All right, some lapped cars hopefully let us by nice and easy. First one does all right. Not so far away from Eamon, but he was able to slide up here last time through. A little bit of locking. Sliding real wide there. Don't slide onto the dirt. Got a nice little pack of lap traffic here. This could get interesting right towards the end of the race. All right, one more lap to go. P5. Eamon was able to get around. Now we got a lap car between me and him. All right, we'll come up to turn 2 though. Oh, he's right on the outside there. Ran a bit wide, trying to get ahead of those cars in front. I'm quite close. Sliding it out of turn number 3, coming up to turn 4, up the inside. He's going to get boxed in. I think he was trying to go to the outside, but able to slide back up the inside. Come on. All right, slow it back down. We got Cannon in front here, so he's quite slow. Into Moss Corner, it's kind of the worst place to catch a car. That's going to give me a little bit of a gap, though, as they all get swallowed up by the lap traffic behind. Now, Eamon's through, but I've got a little gap here as we're rocketing towards the end of the straight. If I can just get through here, nice and clean. Down to 3rd gear, let the car slide a bit, locked up the tires. All right, slid it into the corner. You can see McLaren, but it's Eamon behind me in the mirror. We'll come through the final couple of corners. Man, that was a bit of a cheap move coming up the inside with the lapped car, but I'll take it. I'll take whatever I can. That was one of the most tiring races I think I've done. It's just constantly worrying about the rear view, sliding these cars around. I'm sure Eamon will be quite cross about that one, but it feels so good to hold him off and at least get that back. Kept the car on the black stuff for the whole race, which I can be happy for once. So then we get a look at the final results of that exhausting Canadian Grand Prix. Dan Gurney holds him off. His battery stayed working, unlike real life, but he holds him off for the win. 4.5 seconds ahead of Bruce McLaren. So winning from the pole, my teammate, which is great to see. Mark Donohue then rounds out the top 3, and overall they were so far ahead of us. Richie Axelson, though, finishing in 4th position. I feel like I really earned that 4th, coming from back in 12th on the grid and passing so many cars, dueling it out with Chris Eamon, and ultimately maybe using some of that lap traffic to my advantage to get back around him. But, you know, when the spot presents itself, you got to take it. So Richie Axelson coming away in 4th position ahead of Chris Eamon in 5th, and then Phil Hill back in 6th position picks up the final points. Denny Holmes slides his way out of the points in his inaugural Can-Am race ahead of Chuck Parsons and Earl Jones in 9th. If we look back down the order, there was only one retirement, John Surtees with a suspension failure, who we saw pretty early on in the race. I guess owed to the shorter distance of the race, not quite as much attrition as in real life. So then looking at the points, owed to consistency, Bruce McLaren is leading the way after back-to-back second place finishes in that 3rd in round 1. But I could bet you that he wants to step on that top step of the podium, but leading the championship is never a bad thing. So 16 total points ahead of his teammate Chris Eamon with 14 points, just 1 ahead of myself, Richie Axelson, in 3rd with a lucky number of 13 points. But every point matters. That 1 point could come back I guess it's the only reason that I'm ahead of my teammate right now, Dan Gurney, who's behind me in 4th with 12 points. Then we get on to John Surtees, winner of round 1, but coming away with nothing for rounds 2 and 3 here, ahead of Mark Donohue, just 1 point off, 8 total points, and then a tie for 7th between Parnelli Jones, George Fulmer, and Phil Hill. But Phil Hill picking up the first points for Chaparral this season. Not such a bad outing. So that finishes an exhausting Canadian Grand Prix, but one that I know folks have been waiting for quite a long time. And pulling back the curtain a bit, it's just been something that I hadn't felt as impassioned to do, and without the passion for it, they're never going to be fun to watch. So I just had to wait for the right time, and I feel like it's now the right time to come back and try to wrap up this 1966 season. On next, we'll actually be headed to the Formula One Championship again. The Can-Am Championship takes a quick break as we head back for the United States Grand Prix, round number 8 in the championship, as the whole circus descends to upstate New York for that classic. And you better bet that Richie's going to want to do quite well there aboard the Eagle. So until then, I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you coming back if it's been quite a while. But I hope you enjoyed it. This is GP Laughs, and I'll see you all again next time.